You know, the word emotion kind of distorts everything because, like, when you take the letter E and you equate that to the word feelings, you kind of mess up the motion of things. So remove the E and keep moving. That's what you do with
Spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the IMP. Ain't nothing but pimpin' these days. He's spitting that E to the IMP. He's spitting that E to the
Got my face on a bunch of wanted papers. Rolled in town like a desperado. Searching for the gold like El Dorado. Burning money on Jameson bottles. Gonna get rich come hella hot water. Ride for my gang all the way to hangman. Spirits in the sky know that I'm never changing. I'm like a Charles Russell painting, I'll die in the West.
Welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Uncle Junior Network.
I can't hear you too good.
You can't hear me? Now you saying something, Antoine?
Before was okay.
I heard you.
It was quiet. It was really quiet.
Look,
Hey,
we're breaking in. This
hey,
like the
it is what it is. Y'all already see. Hey, either way, we back. Another episode, Uncle Junior Network, Elevator Dialogue. On the panel today, we got myself, Uncle Junior, Coach Dwayne Dwyer, Victor, Code Talk Vision, Antoine, Christopher, and Rando Big T. How y'all doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Good to see y'all brothers.
outstanding.
Good, man.
Very good. Blessed.
Yes, sir. Blessed.
Hey, good to hear it. Hey, also shout out to the unks, nephews, and women who support the channel and the show. Servicemen out there, we salute you, and shout out to the most elevated chat on YouTube once they get in there and start doing their things. What you got, Coach?
So wouldn't it be like the aunts and the nieces?
That too. Aunts, nieces, all of them, everybody, all the people.
It's gonna be a good day.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think it's gonna be a good one. Hey, we're gonna be talking about self-care today, man. So military, different people's in the military. Well, actually, everybody who's on here right now, Antoine just dropped out. He'll probably come back in. But everybody up here has been in the military. And one of the things we may or may not have been taught or talked about is self-care. And let's face it, at the end of the day, being a man is hard and nobody is coming to save us. So we have to take care of ourselves. We are in many cases responsible for ourselves, our families, and even employees and subordinates. Not only that, but if you have some sort of success, people will automatically view you as a person who can handle more things, and people will pour onto you and into you. Valuable men and or men in general will tend to hold things in and not express certain feelings for whatever reason. This, along with other stressors of life can cause men to act out, become violent, delete themselves, and shut down from life. These are just some of the many examples of men. These are just some of the many examples men use as a way to distract from the stressors of life because they may not have a safe place to express and deal with those stressors. Men need to have a place where they can be men and be vulnerable. One thing that is proven to help men is self-care. Self-care can look different for different men. However, it is important to maintain a certain level of balance and calmness in your life that will allow you to become the best version of yourself. Self-care is one proactive approach to living a fulfilling life, lowering stressors of life, and staying focused on your purpose. I'm gonna start out with a couple of definitions. First definition is self-care. Self-care, based off what I looked up, is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. So, first thing I want to start with is, what are some signs of stress? I'll start right there, but if someone want to go back to something that I talked about previously, feel free to do so. If not, let's start with some of the signs of stress.
Definitely sadness and depression and crying, like right at the top. I can think that's kind of like lump right on in,
Mhm.
but irregularities, pattern disruption. If you're used to sleeping a certain type of way for a certain amount of hours or something like that, or having trouble enjoying things that you would normally do, as a hobby or something to that effect. I think that those are very good indicators. Indicators are not absolute, but they are absolutely indicators.
Yeah. Unmute yourself, Antoine.
Yeah, I agree with that. But stress sometimes could be a good thing because sometimes I work better under stress. To meet deadlines, and it makes me move faster, makes me get up earlier, makes me get it done faster in the day. My workout before I go, because I hate missing my workout before I start work. Right. So stress sometimes pushes me that little extra. I'm not saying it's always a good thing, um, but there's certain things that stress just hinders you. And sometimes you get so stressful you can't think straight. You don't know what to put in first, in front of the other, or behind, or move aside, and you want to do it all, right? So yeah.
So when you're stressed, we're talking about some of the signs of stress. So when you're stressed,
So
what are some of the signs that you may see, or that you may see in people that you may come in contact with?
I see the sweat of the forehead. They tend to have a bit of sweat going more than normal, and they're palpitating. They breathe a little bit differently. It's not like a calm talking. They kind of like pick their vocabulary picks up faster, and they just jump to the ending without giving you the middle, the beginning, middle, and end.
Communication flaws.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. What you got on it, Coach? Some signs.
Yep. So I got to agree with everybody. I will also add that. So Antoine, he mentioned like rapid breathing. I think he said rapid breathing.
Yeah.
So rapid breathing, increased heart rate. Those are some easily to determine things. Easily agitated. That's another thing as well. Irritable. We talked about sleep. I think too much sleep sometimes is another sign of stress. People like to do some comfort eating as well when it comes down to stress. And it's a number of different things. I mean, stress is such a wide array of a conversation that we can talk about. When you have some people in a environment that they're uncomfortable with, they become extremely talkative. So when a person is like stressed because they're nervous, they talk too much. So there are several signs, man, and we can talk about them from sweaty palms to, like Antoine said, sweat on your forehead. Just this is an endless conversation when we start talking about signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
Hey, let's make it a little bit more personal then. What are some of the signs and stressors that we deal with? Because we're on here. Part of what we do is to share some of our experiences. So I like to go around on the horn, and I'll start with myself. As far as being one of the stressors, and one of my stressors is sometimes time management, because got my fingers in so many different things. If I don't have a plan, or if I don't have structure or a routine or something built in there, especially if something comes up that's different or out of the ordinary, or something that may come up, those things really affect me. And I sometimes my anxiety level will go up, or I may stress a little bit more because I'd planned to do A, B, and C, but now D happened, and now it's going to affect A, B, and C right now. So those are some of the things that stress me, or that start increasing my stress level. It's just when things happen, life happens, and it kind of throws a monkey wrench in your routine or your plan.
Yeah, for me, stress comes to me like I get like some people like I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. Sometimes I worry when I shouldn't worry about certain health issues. Like I'll be doing something, and all of a sudden I'll say, "Where did that pain come from? Why is my wrist hurting me?" And that'll start stressing me out. I'm thinking, "Oh Jesus!" And then it could get a little bit more serious about something, and then you're like, it wasn't there before, and then I start stressing out if I remember seeing it, didn't remember seeing it. So because as you get older, you want to be more, you want the pistons to be working right. So you're kind of like more aware of than when you're younger. When you're younger, you just think, oh, scratch, bump, and move on. So for me, I think I'm usually triggered more with health issues in that area when it comes to stress. I don't really stress about work, because it's called life. Either way the bills come in, either way the car payment, either way the mortgage payment. I don't stress about that stuff, right? I'm not saying it's like I'm so money free. I'm just saying I know I have to pay it anyways, so I don't stress about it. I don't stress about if gas goes up. I don't stress about none of that stuff because I can't control what's out of my hands, right? And so I don't. I just call it life. But man, when it comes to personal issues, you know, or I start stressing if I see my mom have a cough, you know, and I'm like, that didn't sound normal. You kind of gurgled on that one. And
Is that where the hypochondriac stuff comes in?
yeah, so yeah, like that. And then
Mhm.
when my dad would hurt himself doing some jogging, he twisted his ankle. It's taking longer to heal, and I'm stressed out. Going, why is it taking so long to heal? It's just an ankle. If anything was wrong, I should, you know, yeah. That's what I. That's where I go.
I get that.
As a entrepreneur, there's always stress. um, Deadlines, you name it. Man, like opening the mail, you know, or just dealing with like, because I got so many moving pieces that, you know, so many things I'm trying to make happen. I deal with stress all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I think the only thing that uh, probably sends me, you know, like to a point of anxiety, I guess you could say, is when everything's locked in and then till it's not at the last minute, you know. So I've learned to uh, a different type of expectation management and room uh, for things to develop or not develop at all, and put enough distance in between it because I already know that I don't have. I'm probably not as approachable as some people would like for me to be in general because I mind my business. You know what I'm saying? And I stay in my box because I give off the energy that I want. You know what I'm saying? So I don't go bother people and they don't come bother me. Because generally speaking, most people just trying to get close to you so they can get in your business to some degree, especially when you're in a vulnerable space. When you're vulnerable, you know, I think that that's the part where people can exploit you in a weak moment. So to maintain, you know, vigilance, you know what I'm saying, and recognizing what triggers my stress, I'm extra vigilant when it comes down to putting certain benchmarks in place and cultivating relationships that help me mitigate stress. But it just depends on how you deal with it. You know, like everybody's got some sort of deadline, like you talked about A, B, C, and D, whatever you got lined up in, you know what I'm saying, in sequence. You can worry yourself to the point where you don't even attempt it. And all you got is the anxiety from the thing that you never did. So I think that there's more stressors in sitting and waiting and dwelling in what won't work. Well, what would make whatever you're working on fail? I think if you're working towards your goal in a positive manner, regardless of how stressful it is, that's the healthy stress that lets you know that you're accomplishing something. So it's supposed to have some obstacles, benchmarks, stuff that lets you know I'm almost there or I'm closer than I was when I started.
I would just add to it. For me, it's I kind of group it all into one thing, and I will call it um, uncontrolled occurrences to planned events. Right. So things that would kind of deviate me from my original plan, something that comes up that has the ability to knock me off tilt. Those are the things, if anything, that can kind of, stress me out a bit. And again, obviously, based upon the degrees of severity, it kind of drives the level of stress. So when it comes down to those uncontrolled occurrences of planned events, one of the things I try to do is try to predict them. If this was to happen, then, what would be my response? It's pretty much what we call risk management. So I try to implement risk management in my lifestyle. And so I will start doing a thing in preparation for a particular, uncontrolled occurrence. Because again, I don't control it. And control for me, because if you have any understanding of personality traits, and the assessments that go along with them, I'm what you would call a C. So information is extremely important to me. And so for people like me who are information hogs, we're data miners and things of that nature, the thing that knocks us off tilt would be kind of like criticism within that space because it comes from someplace else. It doesn't come from the work that I do because I criticize myself a lot, which means that I actually put a little extra effort into the work I do. So when you start looking at those uncontrolled occurrences, if it comes from this location, whether it's person or circumstance, how can you mitigate those things? And so when you look at that, that's the thing that can kind of stress me out a bit.
What about you, Randall Big T? What are some things that stress you out? Are you still in the military? You got some good news, but you still in right now.
Well, you gotta think. So we'll take what we talked about before the show started, with retirement on the calendar now, like an official date. The stressor now is not what am I going to do? It is now how can I be successful outside a made to succeed organization? You know what I mean? So now I have like Coach said, risk management. That's pretty much 80% of my job day in and day out now. What are the risks of me not preparing? You know, and if I don't have a solid plan, then not only do my stressors affect just me, it's a trickle down effect. You know what I'm saying? So now the stressors start ticking away. I start counting them. But what I do to mitigate is, hey, you set yourself up for success by saying that you're going to have certain things. You made sure that you had degree. You made sure you had security clearance, certification. So now when I see I ticked off a lot of those boxes, it's like, oh, I can push that stuff to the side. Now I don't have to think about that. Preparation, like Coach said, it's like 80% of it. The 20% is all what you really gonna do because it's on me, So my stressors have been noted, and like I said, it's providing for people I care about, and then making sure that I have a healthy balance of work, love what I'm doing, money, and time with the family. Those four things, because before the military was just a stressor in its own. You wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, look around, you see 82 text messages missed. I'm bald for a reason, not because I look like a struck match. You know what I'm saying, Vic? But I'm bald for that. So so what I've done and those stresses that I've noted is just maintain that true vigilance of I have a plan. I'm going to stick with that plan. And Vic said something a while ago about dying on that hill. I'm prepared to die on that hill of I've made a good plan. I've talked it through with my mentors. I've talked it through with my wife. We can succeed. You know what I mean?
Here's what I got. Not the only thing I got out of that, but one thing I got out of that is that no one in here brought up women. And what I mean by that is none of us, it seems like, are stressing about a woman in our lives. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good thing. I think if that would have been one of the top things, I think the conversation would have went a different way. So I'm kind of glad
99 problems.
that ain't one. But that ain't one.
We talked about protection. Remember, we talked about protection, right? Right. I think most of us have had an opportunity to see what we don't want in a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now most of us, I'm assuming most of us are married. Some of us are seeking, whatever it may be. Oh, Roger, okay, gotcha, Antoine. In my life, right? In my life, I can't stress about her because she refuses to put us in a predicament where we have to worry about so many things. Common things are, we all know that. You go to work, something happened at work, like Coach said, you put so much on yourself that because you care, you know what I'm saying? You care about what you do. It's like explaining to my son, you represent me when you step out this house, right? You go to school, you put something on that piece of paper. If it looked like ass, it looks like ass. And if you don't challenge yourself to do better, I can't say nothing to you. The stress of him going to school, that's a well-deserved. I earned that stress. You know what I'm saying? I earned that. I wanted that stress. I took it on. But as a woman, as my wife, no. For what? Why would you put stress on the family? That'd be like me going. That'd be like me doing what I was doing at 19, Vic. Stupid. It don't make sense.
Nah,
You
bro.
just said you wanted that stress.
Mm-hmm.
Antoine talked about good stress, and then I think Vic kind of talked about stress too. But I know Coach he unmuted his mic, so he got something to say. So, Coach, if you want to respond to that, feel free to respond to that. But then after that, I want to get with Antoine and Big T when they've talked and see what they have to say about good stress. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, so just kind of just piggyback off of what Big T is talking about, because I mean he's spot on, right? When you're coaching a team, you have your tryouts, and then once it gets to the point where you determine who's actually going to be on the team, I'm no longer stressing about whether or not they're going to represent the team. I'm more focused on understanding whether or not they have a good understanding of the plays that the team is going to run. So it's not
That's a
about
great
them being
analogy.
detrimental to the team anymore, because we made the proper selection for the team members. Now that you're a part of the team, let's execute. That's what we focus on now. Execution is the key. There's one vision of the team, there's one coach of the team. There may even be a Michael Jordan on the team, the superstar. Guess what? When it's time to take the last second shot, everybody knows who's getting the ball, even the
Mhm.
opponents. So I like to use those analogies because it just makes sense. When you have people who understand those things, we don't stress about people making the team. We already understand who's going to make it and who's not going to make it.
Yeah. I like that analogy. I really like that. Um, I want to definitely start with. Hold on, Antoine, you muted. What was you here to say?
I was saying that, with the woman thing, after I was like, I would say, you know hurt by love and all that sort of stuff, and you'd go through that phase and all that, I told myself I would never stress over a woman again. I never have. Never. She's coming into my life, I'm not going into hers ever. Right? So I made it a point that no one else is going to have control of my stress, how I'm doing as a man. Even if they're my wife, my kids, it's going to roll the way I want it to roll, or it doesn't roll at all. Right? Because I made it a point to put myself in the position that you're coming into my life. There's no, I'm going into yours, and I care if your people love me or your family really don't care. So I made sure that foundation, and like I said, I went to the extreme. Right? I went to the extreme after my certain situation, right? With focusing on work and all that sort of stuff. And I put myself in an extreme that no one else has control over my stress ever again. Because I'm not gonna be vulnerable like that. I don't want to be vulnerable like that. I don't think any man should be vulnerable like that. Right? Because those are two separate things. You're first in my personal life, but you ain't first in my professional life, and you never will be. Ever. And if I have to choose between work and you and going to a party, go without me. It's okay. We're good.
And I think that's what Coach was talking about. Once they make the team, like you're not really stressing anymore.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
you just make sure that everybody stand on board and just operating in it, in their own roles. Like he said, at the end of the day, you know what I mean. Jordan taking the shot. So as long as it's understood
Yep.
before you even make the team that Jordan's taking the shot, you know what I mean. It
I
shouldn't be
think
any issues.
I think one of the things about self care is that a lot of times we if we've been in high anxiety moments, and there's always a difference in understanding that just because you're in charge doesn't mean you're in control. Like you're responsible for making the most appropriate decisions, meaning that you got to live and die by what works and what doesn't. But you put people in place that have better skill or proximity to the problem, the subject matter expert, so they can actually control the situation from there. That way, you know how to use people that can give you the answers that you need to mitigate your stress. Like if you ever worked in, like, there's a lot of military here, PRs, you know what I'm saying? You work off of that. That's priority intelligence requirements. You got to sit down and reverse engineer your outcome. You know what I'm saying? And like if you want to succeed over here, if you start making a plan backwards for it, it takes away the stress when you know what kind of resources you got. So I think stress is also relative to resources that you can access to, especially if you're trying to accomplish something. And most people that are stressed and trying to accomplish something also need people that are like us who have tried everything to say, hey, look, there's something that you can extract from this. You know, there's a transitive property from this. It's not a waste. It's not a loss. It's a lesson. And you got to know the difference between that too. That's the other part too that determines whether or not a person deals with stress well. If you take every negative encounter or every outcome that doesn't fit your expectation as an assault on your intelligence or something like that, you will always find a way to be the victim. You will always find a way to not try. And that's the paralysis through analysis that'll make you sit still before, you know, you'll defeat yourself before you even find out if you could have done something the right way.
Selection criteria.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think one of the things you talked about with good stress was essentially you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, you know, and it's a product of that. Everything that comes into your life may not be, like I said, everything that's good, everything that's great isn't good. And sometimes you get hit with that moment where, you know, doggone well, at that point, it's like,
Kind of
holy
mess
smoke.
up the motion of things. So
You're like, man, it's so stressful. Why is it stressful? Why is it stressful? Because you've never been in that predicament before. You've never attempted that. And instead of, you know, thinking about it in a way like Vic said, like positive, like, okay, if I've never attempted it, who has? What playbook can I look at to even not per se mirror, but just, you know, pull from? And that good stress is that okay, if I'm doing something new, it's going to be hard at first. But if I'm not willing to, you know, make slow progress and then make immediate progress, you know, you gotta get prepared for that kind of stress.
So Antoine, what do you think about this good stress thing? Give me more in details about it. Unmute though.
You know, like I said, I thrive on stress, right? For me, and because deadlines are always, everything is due yesterday, I find, and Vic may relate to this. He knows that when when you got crammed and you got a bunch of things to do, you sometimes think better, right? Because you prioritize and you go A, B, C, D, right? And sometimes you go to bed thinking about what you have to do the next day. It's like, so it becomes clockwork. When you wake up, you just boom, 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 coffee, down, oh, gotta go, bye. So for me, I think like stress is a good thing. It's there for a reason if you just know how to flip it and use it to your advantage, right? Because it's not, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's something that triggers you, but it also gets you moving. And you know, nothing feeds a man more than when he's hungry. You will find food.
I think good stress is a barometer for progress.
Yeah.
It's just a barometer for how much progress you're making. Like, I think that negative people are a barometer for the energy that you're putting out. You know what I'm saying? So if you're encountering stress that comes along the I guess the business of the day, you know, just the nature of it, right? That just lets you know that you're in a space where you should be. You know, like if, you know, like we play sports and those guys are having a great time, you know what I'm saying? But they're also trying to win and they're participating in the strategy. And that's why, like, what's the phrase that linebackers have? You know, keep your head on the swivel, because there's a level of alertness that lets you know when your opportunity, you know, is going to arise. Like I ride motorcycles, you know what I'm saying, for activity. If I want to go on a nice long ride and endure some stress to unwind, which is probably sounds weird to some people, you know, then that's what I want to do. People that skydive, feel free, you know, jumping out of a plane for 9 to 10 seconds, or however long that they free fall for. But people just have their picks and poisons, you know. You're gonna find a way to vent. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you vent through activity, and sometimes you vent, you know what I'm saying, through something creative. You know, like Antoine is an artist. He can transmute whatever he is, you know what I'm saying, he's feeling and onto some canvas, you know. Some of us transmute it into business. We bring it here, you know. It's about what you do with it that's more important, you know, versus realizing that you can actually be stressed. I think somebody's delusional if they don't think that they can be stressed or rattled, you know. It may not be to the same, you know, display. You may not have the same physical response, but some people got a better poker face than others.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think you can have good stress too. I would say that for me, sometimes waking up at 4:30 in the morning and then going to run when it's cold is a little bit is stressful sometimes because I don't always want to do it. But I still challenge myself to do it, most mornings. And but I get a benefit out of it. So yes, I'm stressing my body, I'm stressing my knees, stressing my everything. But at the end of the day, it's all better for me. I get to listen to podcasts, get to listen to a talk show, um, and I get to educate my mind, and I get to, work on my body at the same time. So, and at least when it comes to a physical form, I think, there is a good thing as good stress. Maybe we don't want to call it that. Maybe it's something different, but I look at it as, I do have a little stress sometimes. I don't be cold out there in the morning sometimes, and sometimes I don't even want to get up like that. That snooze button, my snooze button work too. I just don't like to hit it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it do be stressful sometimes. What you got, coach?
Yeah. So everything that everyone says, I agree. That's what I got initially. Um, Good stress to me is anything that is intentionally planned in the direction of my purpose. So it's not something that someone else injects on me. It's something that I plan for. I may not understand what degree that stress is going to be at, once I start along that plan, because that stress is designed to move me outside of my comfort zone. That stress moving me outside, because that's really what stress is at that point. It is the anxiety that is felt from moving outside of my comfort zone. So once I start experiencing that, now I start to learn and grow within that moment, and then my comfort zone expands based upon the level of stress that I impose upon myself. But again, it is something that is intentional, that I plan within the direction of my purpose. Again, not necessarily I plan the stress, I plan the direction, and the direction is laced with the necessary stress that I need to grow.
So Vic was talking about how he winds down. That's a part of that self care. You know, finding a moment. Not, and it doesn't like one of the things Vic said. He said people skydive or people do. People or go for a run. Like Unc said, it's your peace. You know what I mean? And no one's responsible for your peace of mind and your your sanctuary. So I got my home gym, right? That's my temple. When everything starts piling on, I know for doggone sure if I go in there, throw some jams on, start hitting the weights, everything kind of just fades out. I get that like white noise when the metal dropping on the floor, and I'm like, okay, cool. I also got a spot in the backyard where I light up a stogie, give me a couple of scotch, bourbon, cognac, and it's peaceful. No matter who comes out there, they know the deal. It's not a talking moment. It's a relax. You know what I mean? But that's how I unwind. What about y'all fellas?
Um,
Definitely a
yeah.
good whiskey involved. Hmm.
I I practice. I'm more of a pro. It may be the same thing, but I practice like I guess more of a proactive approach. I try to get up and do something every single day. I try to have early wins during the day. Getting up, working out, spending time with the wifey, getting the shower. Doing all these different things in the morning, even before I start my day. So I have at least an hour every single morning of self-care that I do for myself. Um, I believe it's important. I believe that, you can't pour from an empty cup. We as men, a lot of times we're the leaders and we're in charge of a lot of different things. And wait till we get to work. What I mean? We don't take care of ourselves. And then next thing we blown up at people at work, we having relationship problems. But if we would, go back and do some things to take care of ourselves and practice self-care, I think it'd be a whole lot better. But for me, one of the things I do, like I said, I practice is working out. Even though it is stressful getting up, once I'm into it, I'm fine. And then I see the benefits of it, in the long run, and I know the long-term benefits of it too. So because I know the long-term benefits of working out and take care of my body, that eliminates certain amount of stress in my life. Um, I don't worry about I don't have any control over my life, and tomorrow's not promised to me. At the end of the day, there are certain diseases and certain things that I just don't really worry about. I don't stress about because I take care of my body. You know what I mean? So I don't worry about having liver poison because I don't drink a whole bunch of alcohol. You know what I'm saying? So I think just the way you live your lifestyle can give you the mindset to whereas you don't stress about certain things because you don't have to deal with certain things because of the way that you live your life. And that's what I was saying about alcohol. I don't worry about having a bad liver because, I don't pump about a pump pump a bunch of crap into my liver. So
Yeah, that's like, people were there's been conversations where uh, they were trying to pass laws that make all drugs legal, and people say, "Oh, it's a bad thing, it's a good thing." I'm like, I'm indifferent. I don't care if you make heroin legal. I'm not doing heroin. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
it doesn't even matter. So you're right. Quality of life. Is a lot of options out there. You know what I'm saying? Good, bad, and indifferent. And when you got the freedom to choose, and you choose something that aligns with a negative outcome, then that goes against everything that talks about the stress that's built into the progress that you're trying to make. Like Coach, you know what I'm saying, talking about uh, making sure he plans for things that will impede his progress. You know what I'm saying? So when they arrive, it's not unfamiliar. You've already simulated it. So you in your mind, you're already trying to counter it. That's the whole point of having, you know what I'm saying, plan A, B, C, or D, or however many plans you need to get to whatever you're trying to accomplish. The part where I think a lot of people, I wouldn't even say a lot of people, even myself, when I had to come to the understanding is that sometimes you are your own resistance. Sometimes we don't recognize that something's just not meant for us at the time. Sometimes we just meant to go through the motion and get the understanding of it, go back and regroup, write it down, make some different approaches to it. Because again, nothing's more stressful than doing something you've never done before and not necessarily knowing what the metrics are for said accomplishment, whatever the benchmark is. Like how many times have you seen where like somebody's taking a PT test and they underperform because they thought they already passed the number they needed? Like, oh no, your age bracket said you should have did this, and then you're like, man, I could have went a little bit harder than I did before, or something to that effect. You see it on them, like because they didn't do two more sit-ups or two more push-ups or sprint that last, you know what I'm saying, however many feet they needed to sprint. But the next time they go back, they're familiar. They blow it out of the water, and you can just tell that it was just a mental oversight. It was ego. It was something that threw them off. That allowed them to impede themselves. Again, be their own resistance. So I think that stress is a barometer of whether or not you're also being your own resistance in your journey. You know what I'm saying, into accomplishing your goals.
all right, Chris.
That's true.
Hold on. Big T asked me to go a little bit deeper about early wins. For me, the early wins is psychological for me. Um, when I don't hit the snooze button, I feel like I won. I feel like when I hit the snooze button for the first time, I've already lost. You know what I mean? I had the opportunity to get up and start my day, but I hit the snooze button, I got back into bed. So I felt like for me, I look at that as being lazy, and I look at it like as a loss for me. So when I get up out the bed, it's like one Garfield and zero life. A couple minutes later, I'm in there. I'm just like, man, I really don't feel like working out today. Then I go work out. Now I got 2 wins on the day, and I'm just now getting started. So I've conquered that mindset early in the morning of defeat because I've already accomplished 2 things that I didn't necessarily want to do. I didn't necessarily want to get up, and I didn't necessarily want to go walk or run or whatever it is I was gonna go do. And now I start my day on the positive. So I think those early wins can help you lower some of the stresses in your life. Like I said, I do all those things in the morning. So when I go to work, I'm on cloud nine. Like I'm fine.
So
You know
you
what I
create
mean?
winning
I'm
streaks
not
off the win.
dragging into work every day like so many people are because I took that time to take care of myself and give myself the best part of the day for me. For me. I know how I am. I learned myself over these years. And for me to have to come in and work out in the evening sometimes is a stressor. because I'm just like, oh man, I got to work out this evening. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I got to do this. I got to do this when I go home, and now I don't feel like it. So me, like I'm saying, knowing myself, I have to work out in the morning because working out in the evening is a stressor for me. So this kind of goes back to those early wins for me. Those early wins help me psychological be a better person throughout the rest of the day. So it just does a whole lot for me. I don't know if because of the military, I work out in the morning, but I see the benefits way more in working out in the morning for me versus doing it in the afternoon.
Significant difference. Like you don't get to take anybody else's negative energy into the space with you. You get to take everything you wake up with and go to it. Versus like when you know what I'm saying, Big T was talking before, like he goes to get all of the work off of him. You know what I'm saying? So there's a give and take with that, you know. And I think if most of us have been in environments where like it's stress before you get to work and during and after, so you end up working out twice a day. You know what I'm saying? So you got to go in to kind of like mellow yourself out and get that initial you know that anger out, I guess you could say, or whatever stress that is. And
What do you do? What do you do to help relieve? What do you do to practice self-care? I know we talk a lot, but we don't always talk about what we do for
this
self-care.
is
Like we
true.
kind of implied that we know, but you know,
I,
what do
I
you
put
do?
the phone on do not disturb and I try to catch up on TV shows. I don't watch enough TV. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes my life seems like a reality TV show. I feel like people got cameras everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Because just some of the most random fluke stuff just happens in the course of business when you deal with people interaction. When you have to interact with people, you have no idea what can be on your plate before the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So there's days where like since people are so random and some of the things they do that cause, you know, a ripple effect of problems, I realize I'm like, that's probably time for me to go back in the house and just turn the TV on. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't watch enough TV. I don't sit on the couch and let it watch me. You know, getting a chance to catch up on shows and be part of a regular conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like I know when I get my moments and I say out loud, I want to go to the movies to go see that. But because of the way that I work and the way that I move, I always think I got time to go to the movies. You know, but then that's when my lady comes by and says, "Hey, we're going to the movies." You know what I'm saying? Like she pays attention to those things that I say out loud. You know, so it's not that I don't want to go do those things. I just know they take me off the thing that I'm trying to accomplish. So I have to. So I become more aware. Like, okay, plan A, B, and C didn't work today. Put this thing down. Let me give it 24 hours. Look at it again. See, did I start off on the wrong foot? Did I catch somebody in a bad? You know, just go back and look at the whole thing because I don't want to go into it thinking it's supposed to happen this quickly, and somebody's like, no. That sounds good, but it doesn't happen that way. Because how many times have you filled out some paperwork? Think you filled the paperwork out the right way? Take your paperwork to go get received. They say, oh, you got to go back and fill this out. And you're like, I called ahead and I figured out everything beforehand. Or how many times have you asked, hey, can you set this document up so when I figure it out, it's dummy proof? And they still tell you something's not right, you know? And that little stuff sends you over the edge because you know what admin, you know what I'm saying, like how long it takes for admin to make it back through, you know, just in general. And that doesn't even have anything to do with the military, it's just in general, you know? So if you're not paying attention to those things, you're missing the invitation to sit down sometimes. That's what I said. So I look at it like I've tried to accomplish ABC, and it comes in weird ways too, man. Like I go to the same grocery store all the time. The one day I say I want to make a certain type of meal, the main ingredient's not on the shelf. I'm not supposed to eat that day. It's just the way I look at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and go get something to eat and come back home, you know, and just leave it like that. Just wasn't supposed to happen.
And I agree with that. You know, and I'll even say that another way of winning, as we're saying it right now, is not to care.
Practicing self-care.
Practice of self care is don't care. You don't care
What
about
is it that you do specifically
me
though?
personally.
Practice? Yeah.
Me personally, I don't care. I practice not caring. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care how you look at me. I don't care. I care about what I'm doing, right? There's no insult that you can tell me that will affect me in my life. Either way, the sun's coming up in the morning and I'm getting paid on Friday. I don't learn how to not care. Not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay because you only want a certain amount of friends, right? So I practice two things. I take care of me first. I don't care if I'm late for other people. I'm selfish that way. I will take care of me. I will make my time at the gym. If I have to do an extra set or not do that set and be late for somebody, I'm being late for somebody because I know when I get to that somebody and they may be late, they're just going to trigger me because I'm going to say to myself, "Shit, I had enough time to do one more set," right? Whereas I can say, "Hey, I did what I had to do. I accomplished for me," and it makes me feel so much better throughout the rest of the day. And another thing I practice is I've really lately, as I'm getting older now, I've really lately on honing in on what makes me happy, things that I do that makes me happy. Maybe I don't know, get a new hand lotion, a new cologne. I look at a new pair of shoes, buy a new pair of shoes. Got a new pot too, coach. I'm cooking up some store now, but go there later, But anyway, and I look for different recipes, things that make me happy. I really look into that, and I've been thinking like, like making time for this podcast, right? I set aside time for this podcast and I have something to look forward to on my Wednesdays. And I try to fill up every other day with something positive like that, that's fun like that, right? So I go, damn, the podcast's over. I gotta wait till next Wednesday. So now I gotta think of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I think self-care is finding things that make you happy to fill the gap when you're bored, you know? And fine, and it's okay. I spend money on myself now. Before I never really used to care, but now I found hobbies and other things, clothing. I like certain type of things, so I look into getting into that.
Pots.
Better mic system, you know. Learning what Vic is talking about with the mics and what's good, what's not, the boom. Finally learning what that is. Just things that for me, like I said, I've become very selfish, and I think it's okay. Yeah.
So for me, I would say energy management. That's I want
Mm.
to start off with it
That's a good one.
because my days can be extremely long. I wake up at like 4:30 every morning, and sometimes my days don't end till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, especially on Friday nights, right? Having the conversation with the hearts of men, right? So again, some days for me can be extremely long. So it's not just focusing on one side. I look to capture wins periodically throughout the day, and they're intentional. So, with that being said, in the morning when I wake up, I start off with, I got to have my coffee. I still do that, right? So, I'm doing my coffee and I'm reading something. So, my first energy is placed on me, right? So, I'm empowering my mind with some form of document, reading something, meditating on that thing that I'm reading, and seeing how I can employ that in my life. That's my first stage. So, that's my first win of the day as I go throughout the day, because remember, I'm a C. So I already have a structured schedule that I'm going to accomplish throughout the day. But in the midst of that schedule, take the time to love the people who understand what the word love is and who are not confusing love with like. People who confuse love with like will manipulate you and sap you of your energy. That is one of the biggest lessons that I learned for self. I like what Antoine said, and I want to kind of repurpose what he said. I've learned to set aside this thing called ego. This thing called ego is more focused on how I look while I do what I do, as opposed to focusing on doing what I do with efficiency and with care. And in the midst of doing so, helping as many people as I possibly can. That's the other thing. I just don't know what it is, bro. When I help somebody, I get energy, a lot of it. So,
Service.
absolutely, I get energy, a lot of it. So I don't know what it is that's intrinsic in me that yearns for that, but now that becomes like the carrot on the stick for me. And so throughout the course of the day, I'm helping whoever I can help. Again, still seeking those wins, right? Taking those times and then, just putting forth the energy and efforts to do the things that are necessary so that I can consistently stay in high energy. And staying in that high energy mode, that means that I am always available. That's the last part, right? We talked about it before, and I think it's important to bring it back to the table. Focus on my God given abilities, right? Availability, um, responsibility, accountability, and again, serviceability. If we do those things, right, we focus on those things, then again, that energy just keeps recycling. It's been plenty of evenings at 10 p.m. I am still amped up because I am constantly recharging my battery throughout the day. That has to be an intentional task. If I don't make that intentional, then I'm telling you, there have been days, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I got to take a nap. Why? Because I'm tired from what I was doing earlier. So if I don't make sure that I have those benchmarks throughout the day that actually make sure I'm recharging my batteries. And another thing is for me, and I got to stress it this way, I seek out conversations to where we can have, empowering, biblically focused conversation. That's an important task for me. I do that at least 2 or 3 times a day with 2 or 3 different people. Another thing that recharges my battery. So again, doing that throughout the day, it gives me all the energy I need to make sure that I am at the best, at my best throughout the day.
That's that's really good to hear because I think sometimes I get drained at the end of the day, and it comes from just sometimes just pouring into people and just having conversations. And you're just like, I ain't really doing anything. I only did like a couple of miles. Like, why am I so tired? Why am I so drained? And it's having those conversations where those elevated conversations that bring about some sort of purpose, or that you can just input into people, and vice versa. And like sometimes those days like that can sometimes feel more physically exhausting than running than your overall workout.
Man,
Absolutely.
absolutely, because it shows you the power of your mind.
Hmm.
Like if your mind can make your body feel like it's been working overtime, make your shoulders tight. You think about how many times you had a stressful event and like your shoulders are tight, like you've been doing something with your upper body all day, like doing pull-ups or something like that. Sometimes have you ever had like that stress when like your lower back is just tight for no reason and you
Hmm.
hadn't even done anything?
Yeah,
Like it's not a spasm, it's nothing like that. You've been drinking plenty of water, you hydrated, you got all other things, and then you start realizing like, man, my body's just, what I'm saying, reacting to something I'm thinking about then, especially if you don't have any nerve issues or anything to that what I'm saying, that specificity. But generally speaking, your mind is always sending signals, and sometimes it uses your body to make you pay attention to that signal, and it's been sending it the whole time, but you've been fighting through it, and you don't even understand that's why you stressed out, because you're trying to fight through something that's trying to make you sit down, and that's why I stress the part about, for lack of better words, recognizing that sometimes you are your own resistance. Like, man, I got plantar fasciitis, uh, I start recognizing that if I sit in the house too long with my shoes on and I don't have anywhere to go, eventually my face starts frowning up, because it's what I'm saying, I can feel, what I'm saying, my feet saying, hey, we got to get up and go somewhere. We're ready to go work or something. Like you got shoes on or whatever. The minute I take those shoes off, ball game's over. You know what I'm saying? I remember how my parents would either come home, especially my mom, and she would say, hey, if I take these shoes off, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Like none of that's happening. And here I am, what I'm saying, talking about, taking my shoes off just to find something that's comfortable so it can change the way that my facial expression is looking, because I got the wrong shoes on. You know what I'm saying? So it comes in the little things, because stress is an amalgamation of a bunch of little things that's finally getting there. And then when you have an outburst, the outburst isn't even about the problem that's in front of you. You're actually using that thing as a trigger to dump off everything else that you've been pissed about in that one moment in time. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, you're coming from an irrational place, and generally speaking, you're gonna say something that you can't take back, something that you can't honor, or something you're gonna spend a lot of time apologizing for.
So true.
Yeah, I want to get back to what you were saying, Uncle Junior, because I think this is an important thing to understand, right? You know, we have these certain sayings that exist. You know, you can't give somebody what you don't have. That's a thing, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. Well, there's another saying that says, "My cup runneth over." Here's the reality of the truth. I'm not supposed to pour into you based upon what's in my cup. I'm supposed to pour into you with what runs out of my cup. So when my cup run over, that's for you. What's in my cup, I have to constantly recharge my cup so it can continue to run over. And that's why I talked about it the way I do. Like, there are things that you have to do throughout the day for you. You have to recharge your batteries so that you can, and it's not like you wait to stress hit, right? You need to stay ready, stay charged up so that when stress hits you, it doesn't affect you as bad. I think that's important to understand. There are so many different times to where we understand, because we're older and we've probably been around the block a time or two, understanding that stress will manifest itself in your body in a physical aspect, the way that Vic was talking about just now. Well, what we have to do, the reason why that stress has that, because that stress has a profound effect on you. We talk about our mind. Our mind is our switching station. This is our sensory node. I pay very close attention to body language when I'm around people. I don't let everybody put their hands on me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Some people, I give them a fist bump. Some people I shake their hand. Some people I hug, because I am very conscious of sensing the environment when I show up. And so, what that helps me to understand is that some people I don't want to take on your stress. I'm gonna be 100% transparent. It's not that I have anything against you. You have unharmonized emotions that are manifesting itself in your body to where you have some unnecessary, unhealthy energy that you're just projecting.
And they'll pass it right on to you without caring.
Man, hey,
Precisely.
isn't it crazy that you can see that on people now?
Mhm.
Like, you could tell when you go into a space that somebody else is off balance because you stepped in. You know what I'm saying? Or you could tell when somebody else steps in into your space and their energy is off. Like, you just consistently vigil, because you can read people's body language. You can read how they respond to, even if you're watching them move, if they're getting a certain type of text message that you didn't even see, or they see something that rattles them, and then instantly they take that anxiety, and it's so easily transferable to insecure and unhealed people. But when you got that understanding with yourself about, like, what you would do in your space, in terms of who can come into your space, your boundaries, like, how are you wearing your boundaries? You don't recognize that until you get right with yourself, and then you can feel it when it come in a different space. That's just the bottom line. That's when you really, really gotten in tune with yourself, and you using your stress as a barometer in the room. Like you said, this is a sensory, a vessel to understand your environment and how to move in it, so you can still do the work that your environment requires and that your purpose is aligned with.
Some people don't realize that, like Coach said, it's on them. That aura is on them. And when you, like you said, walk into that room, it's like, ooh, it's like you shrugging your shoulders, like, ooh, what you bring into the room? Why are you scrunched up? And you try to eliminate, you not eliminate such a very stringent word. You try to, okay, let me get you out. Like, you know how a cat do when he walk past a shelf, he knocks them up, he knocks them off. Come on, get up out of there. That is very, you know what I mean? You can feel it.
So cats are here to test people's patience then.
I would throw in there one last piece. So what we're talking about is emotional intelligence right now. When being able to sense the environment is an important facet of this. Kind of goes back to what we talked about previously. When we start interviewing, when we start looking at tryouts, having tryouts for the team, that's one of the things that you use. So I think it's important to understand. I can't stress that enough. I know people, and in the circles I follow in now, you'll hear people say, "Hey, let's go on this vacation. Let's go here. Let's go to Cancun. Let's go to to the Bahamas, whatever the case may be." I do it every day. So I don't have to go to Cancun to get away. I don't have to go to the Bahamas. Like every day for me, there is some release. There is some downsizing of energy because I need to stay charged up. So I keep stressing that. I'm sorry going back to it, but I think it's just that important.
No, that is important, and and this kind of goes into to the next question is, why do we need self care as men? I talked about in the beginning in the opening, opening few words as when men don't practice self care or they don't take care of themselves, and those stressors build up. Um, Sometimes negative things happen out. It's not always violence. Those are always talking points, and I know I started with those, but it's not always violence. Sometimes it's early death. Sometimes it's just broken relationships. Sometimes it's not getting the best out of ourselves in order to be productive on our jobs or in our careers or as a entrepreneur, because we're taking in all of this stress and stuff like that. So I want to go around the horn and kind of see what you guys think and what you feel is important, and as to why men need to practice self-care.
You can't lead effectively. You cannot lead as effectively as you want to without being able to mitigate stress on your own. You have to have a program that keeps you at least primed to make good decisions if you are leading. I'm not saying that people that aren't leading shouldn't do the same things, but deciding to prepare yourself for certain opportunities requires a level of internal leadership first. So if you want to be able to step up, take advantage of situations, and use use your skill and know-how at the right time, none of that happens if you do not set conditions with stress management, risk management, uh, showing up your emotional intelligence, understanding when your ears are more important than your mouth. You know what I'm saying? When you're in the right room, um, and a lot of people will probably answer all of the questions that are probably stressing you out, because you can create um, you can create a world of anxiety that doesn't even come to fruition, but inside your body. So you can walk around here stressed out, imagining scenarios of failure, and they can be the furthest from the truth or the facts. And until you get new information that confirms or denies it, all you're doing is creating um, a nest for your anxiety to take roost. You know what I'm saying? All of the stress that comes with that is self-inflicted. And when you know most of the times that stress itself is self-inflicted, then you have to understand that this again, at this point again, this question you have to ask, am I being my own resistance right now? Because nobody else is tripping. It's just me. And it's you on you. You know what I'm saying? As my friend Shonda said earlier, um, this is you recognizing that you are not a monolith. You have multiple personalities that all need to be fed for different reasons. Men in your 40s, if you've done anything in life, this if you're doing the same thing you did, if you're in your 40s and you're doing the same thing you did when you was in your 20s and 30s, you're still doing it differently. You know what I'm saying? With a different mindset, with a different level of efficiency. You may have a different placement and access in that same space, but you're doing it in a way that's more efficient, because repetition takes away anxiety too, you know? So the thing about self-care is that no matter what you're doing to find a way to vent and get your energy out in a positive way, you are responsible for tracking your progress and how you benefited from taking a different space.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you get stressed in this year, you have to go back and look 2 years before and say, where was I on this date 2 years prior? And if you look at it from the 30,000 foot view or 60,000 foot view, however you want to look at it, you are probably in a better position now than you were then. And if you don't see that, now you have a reference point to choose your lowest point. Your stress is relative to what you're choosing.
And it's important, you know, like self-care. I mean, I can't stress it enough to take care of oneself first, right? I do like I said before earlier, I do things for me before I do things for anybody else. If something that somebody needs me to do is going to disrupt my flow, what I'm doing, what's important, even if I know I could put what I'm doing aside for that person, I won't do it. I'll do me first. Because like they say in an airplane, when it's going down, put on your mask first before you help somebody else. And I believe that. But a key thing that people keep missing out about stress is you got to identify what is stressing you out. You got to face it, you know? And I'm not talking about things that are out of your control. I don't know why people stress about a car payment. Why people stress about a mortgage? Why people stress about it's called life. So you'll always be stressing about that, right? No matter what, you're always going to be stressing about that. Why? Why stress about it? It's still going next. It's coming again next month. So I think you've got to compartmentalize things and say, what is a key factor that's having a problem? If you have to get a job to pay the bills, then get a better job. If you have to take 2 jobs, man up and get 2 jobs. But if that's what you have to identify and face what is stressing you out. Most people don't want to face it. They want to go drink a beer or do something else, or, you know, hang out with their wives or hang out with their friends to forget about this stress. No, it's still going to be there. The best thing to do is to walk into that clouded room and say, okay, throw your hands up. What's stressing me out? Because you're just going to carry it. And most people, that's where people go wrong. They don't want to embrace their stress and fix it, identify it, know what's doing it. But don't stress about things that's called life. Like, you're supposed to pay the rent. You're supposed to pay the mortgage. You're supposed to have a car payment, unless your car's paid off. I mean,
I'll say this, Antoine, and this is not necessarily pushback, but I was going to speak. You know, I work in education, and I see people every single day who's stressed. And I think sometimes the stress comes in from what potentially not paying the rent brings. If the rent's not paid, yes, it's coming every month. But if you got 2 kids, yes, I'm not talking about they made their bed now and they have to lay in it. I'm just going embrace the suck. I'm talking about the people who, for whatever reason, they're in their situation and they want to do better, but they understand that if their rent is not paid, that, you know, they may have to move. They have to put their child in a different district. You know, all of the different things that come along with this. So I think sometimes, even though there are certain responsibilities that's being placed on people, I also think that sometimes the stress comes from what the stress brings about, not necessarily just paying the mortgage, but what does not paying my mortgage or rent look like if I don't pay it because I just lost my job, you know?
Okay,
So,
and I'll counter that with this. You know, I've been in that situation. I'm not saying I'm immune to it, right? I'm not saying I'm in perfect shape of my life where I don't worry about certain bills. I'm just saying, like, I used to do that, and I used to really do that. Exactly like what you said. Oh, what happens if I don't pay the mortgage? Like, where am I going to live, move? Now I stress about where am I getting the money? I stress about not what I can't do and what's going to happen with the consequences of not paying my rent. I don't stress about that anymore. I'm just stressing about where I'm getting the money, who I'm borrowing it from, where can I go and get the money. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not stressing about moving. I'm not stressing about losing my home. That ain't going to happen. That's not even an option in my mind, right? I'm stressing about where am I getting the money. That's it. And that's all my focus is on. If you shift it to where it's supposed to be, then you don't have to worry about where it is right now. You got to just get the money. Either way, you have to get the money. So why are you worrying about getting kicked out of your house? You might as well worry about getting the money. Rather you borrow it. That's why I say, man, the wolf pack is so important in your life. You're as good as the company you keep, because all my friends that I have within my circle will lend me money. I will never be on the street. I will never go hungry because I know there's a plate around me at all times. Till the day I can get crippled tomorrow. Ooh, don't say that, but you know what I mean? Things can happen, and I know the circle I have, I'm good. I will have friends bring me food. I'm good. And that's why I say it's so important you have a good, strong wolf pack, and the people that are there are supposed to be there. It's okay to get rid of the ones that tie you down. I have no anchors. I don't want anchors. I don't even want a lot of friends because that means I have to give a lot of money out. I just like the ones I have. I'm good. And that's the way people need to function. You can't get everybody to like you. You can't save everybody. Right?
You said something about not caring, right? One of the things that kind of helped me with receiving information is either if I care about it, I'll listen. If I don't care, I don't. Everybody's priority is not my priority, right? And I refuse to allow somebody else to dictate the priorities in my life, because that right there, once you start letting other people say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, we want you here, we want you there, it's like, whoa, I can already feel that extra 15 pounds in a rucksack. You're like, nah, take that out. No, thank you. Nah, I don't want that. Yeah. And so, like, for some point, my wife should tell me, she said, how do you get to that point you don't care? It's like, because I'm comfortable in my damn skin. I'm me. And it's not that I'm better than you, him, she, whatever we want to be. I'm not better than you. I know where my strengths are. I know where my weaknesses are. I know where my talents can be used and maximized. And if that's what I want, I'm going to do it. I've learned how to spoil myself, and I've learned how to restrict myself. But I had to learn that to eliminate stress, because I used to remember being stressed out. It was so uncomfortable, 24/7, just like my back hurt. Like you said, my back hurt for no reason.
Right?
Yeah, like you're too young. You're having a tight back.
Yeah, I'm going to sit call talking about, doc, my upper back and lower back for what?
Yo, like,
but the moment you put all that stuff out your head and you realize that your goal is king, and that context that you in place in your own story is the truth, it's like this weight comes off of your shoulders, and it's like, oh, it's mine. Okay, all right, cool. It's like somebody going to your house telling what you're going to do at your house. You're going to look at them like they the dumbest person on the planet.
Man, because look, the minute that you start, like, the minute that you start breaking down why you have the feelings you have, whether you care about something or not, that's still a feeling. You know what I'm saying? You got to know if you don't care about something too, you know? And in a minute that, like, you brought up the example of, like, your wife asking you, like, how do you get to that point? And you really just look at it and say, you know what? I put myself in other people's shoes, and I can understand why nobody cares about what I like. So now that I get it, I don't have to care about what other people like. But you know the difference is, it is different when you in control of the universe that you're managing. You know what I'm saying? When you're officially in charge, standing in your role, doing your thing, living on your purpose, and all of the things that come with it. When you're the person that's responsible for making the decisions of the next benchmarks that say we need to pivot, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're actually leading, you don't care about what other people feel about it. Like, I look at it like this. You guys that have been friends with me on social media for a long period of time, you've seen me make a post, don't know anybody that's offended, but they about to have a pity party together. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I'll go back and look at the post maybe 6 hours later. Somebody have to tag me and say, hey, man, did you see that this thing spiraled out of control? I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I said what I was feeling at that time, and I didn't say it to anyone. I said it in the space where I felt comfortable saying it so I could get it out of me, you know? And if it just so happens to bring back some feedback, then so be it. If it comes back in negative feedback, that's not my problem. That's them. That's their reaction to it. Because how can you be responsible for feelings of people that you've never met, never known, and not responsible for? You know what I'm saying? At some point, fake caring stressed people out too. Like, because they're not really that mad. They didn't even know that they were mad at the thing that they got offended about, you know? So once you start seeing how fickle other people are, they're a barometer for how far you are from being, you know what I'm saying, like them. Like, it's not that you're not like them. You got the same potential to make the same decisions, behave the same way, but you're like, my life experience doesn't afford me the opportunity to go behave that like that person, because I got people depending on me. You know what I'm saying? We don't get to throw tantrums. I wish I could throw a tantrum. It probably wouldn't be very cool, but you probably lose a lot of support. And people like kind of look at you like, I don't know about that. You know, like it's certain positions of leadership that do not afford you the opportunity to vent and complain. You can't complain from your chair. You have to come with a solution.
I told my son today, I told him, I was like, yo, every time I ask you to do something, not every time, that's a little drastic. That's finite language. Sometimes when I tell you to do something, told him to pick up dog poop, he got upset. I said, you started to cry about me telling you to pick up dog poop. I said, wait, why? What? I said, because it stopped you from doing what you want to do? Yes, Dad. I said, okay, fair statement. I said, but remember I told you if you execute prior, you don't have to worry about nothing? Yeah, Dad. If you take care of it,
gave you the cheat code. Yeah. He being his own resistance. Hey, so throw that in the tube, but hey, son, you being your own resistance.
It's in the bag.
I told you how to do it. You know what I'm saying?
It is. I told him, your goal is to find a way to be above reproach. You want to be able to say, they always say, check but verify. You trust but verify. You want me to be able to just trust you and move on with your day. Because if I'd have walked in the house and said, you do your homework? Yeah. You did this? Yeah. You did that? Yeah. All right, go ahead and do what you do. I ain't got nothing else for you.
No
You've
issue.
accomplished everything because you've taken it upon yourself to say, I got it, Dad. Sometimes if the task is hard, you put your helmet on, you put your head down, and you run through that shit.
Yep.
Because if not, you spend all that time, like Vic said, throwing a tantrum. Support loss.
That's not the problem.
You just
with less energy.
And that's why it's important. One of the reasons why it's important for men to practice self-care, because for those of us who have boys, teenage boys, you need to practice self-care, because there comes a point in young man's life where at some point and in some families they decide to bow up on us, and sometimes we have to take the high road, if you want to say, but that in itself is can be a stressful situation if you go through it, and that's why you got to take care of yourself. Because I mean, you think about this, and I've told my sons before, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I literally tell them, like, bro, look, the only reason me and you ain't go to blows is because you my son. I'm like, had you been somebody on the street, or had I been in a different place, it would have been a totally different conversation that me and you would have had, but because I practice self-care allows me to be more at peace, have more inner peace, be able to look at things that have energy, give my energy to certain things versus not giving them to other things. You know what I mean? All of those things that you guys talked about, and plus, so it's a whole bunch of reasons why men need to self-care. And one of them is so it'll help control that, help that angry beast that's inside of some
that
of
third
us.
person. When you start talking in third person, because the first two didn't listen.
Yeah. So go ahead, Coach.
So for me, because I think this is an important question, why do we need self-care as men? Because my tribe is dependent upon me to quiet the storm. I think that sums up everything what everybody just got finished saying. So when we start breaking down what is the storm, the first storm that exists is here. I think Vic, you talked about this, right? And I'm gonna try to sum it up real quick. The storm that exists here is based upon what I know and what I don't know. The things I don't know, we will actually make it up and come to some solution of what could potentially happen. And then, for whatever reason, that is always the worst case scenario. So, once I start reshaping this, then I can stop creating the difficulties that can potentially exist based upon something I do not know. So, once we can get to the point where we actually calm this down, then we can start addressing the storm that exists within my tribe. Let's be completely honest. She needs me as well. And what we do is we help each other within that space. Now, I think Vic, you mentioned about making sure that we have the person that actually has the skill set to accomplish whatever task on the forefront. This is the idea of mutual submission. A lot of people don't like to talk about mutual submission. Here's the reality of the truth. If she is better at doing something than I am, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to say, I'm the man, I'm in charge, I'm going to do it my way. I understand you understand, but whatever, just stay back and let me do it. Because now what ends up happening, I'm going to make a mess of it. And she's going to be sitting there, look, I'm here to help. So what I do is I put her in a position so that she can actually thrive within that space, and I support her with that task, that venue, whatever that looks like. This is what quiets in the storm within the relationship looks like, so that there's actually harmony. When it comes down to the children, I think Big T just kind of gave us a perfect example of that, because that young boy is going to have some pent up energy, and sometimes he's going to push it in the wrong direction. He may buck up against his daddy, he may buck up against his mama. Again, my tribe needs me to quiet the storm. Once I, once we have a stable environment within our household, then we can focus on ensuring that all the storms on the perimeter stay quiet.
Yeah.
So now, whatever storm comes up against the kids, whatever storm comes up against her, whatever storm comes up against me, this is that team that we were talking about in the beginning. And the team collectively quiets the external storms. And let's be honest, the team is not just the people in my house, the team is also those connections that we have outside the house. Men need men of value to connect with, to have empowering conversation with. Women need women of value to have conversations with as well, because that's important for them. Let's be honest. Go hang out with your girlfriends. I need that space, because when you come back home, it's about to be honeymoon all over again. I'm just going to be honest with you. Me and the fellas about to go. I'll be back. But when I come back, you know what I'm saying? We're quiet in the storm. So that's why it's important, why men need self care. Because if we can't take care of ourselves, we're sure as hell not going to take care of anybody else.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good.
And
I can never understand that. Coach nailed something. I always wonder why men don't like women to go out and have a girls' night. Like I could never understand. Like I want you to get. I want the house to myself. Because I know when you come back drunk, you're coming home to me.
But it's not just that, bro.
You know what
It's
I mean?
actually,
It's like
but
you
it's
need that.
actually healthy.
Yeah,
it's just personal space, man.
yeah,
Like
man. I
like
could
like
never understand why men talk about their girl can't go out without them with the girls, and I'm like, what head are you thinking with? Like, why
I,
would you want that?
I think some of it comes down to the choice and selection of what they decide to do. I think
What do you
that's for
mean?
the most part what it comes down to.
What do you mean?
Like some men, it comes down to what the night out is going to look like. You know
It
what I
look like
mean?
anything they want it to look like. It's a girls' night out. I don't really care. Go to a club, knock yourself out. I mean, unless I don't have trust with her. But I think that if I'm with somebody and I have the trust, I'm picking you up anyways. You ain't driving home drunk, and you ain't driving home with your friends. So it don't
I,
matter to me.
I
I
will
think
say this. I will say this. I've heard this. I've heard this before. When it comes to like some men, and I don't want to get too far into this,
No, no,
but
no.
one of the things may be about men not wanting their women to go to certain clubs, right? When they're in the clubs, we know what goes on in the club. Men are there trying to hit on your woman or women in general. They're there to hook up, hang out, blah blah blah. So sometimes when women are in them situations, sometimes they feel like that their woman may not have a certain amount of um safety, so they may not want her to be in certain environments where there's not that safety thing that comes along with it. That's just some of the things that I've heard before. So
I don't know. I don't know about that safety thing. I mean, you know where you're going. I mean,
I
you're not going in no rat hole. So
yeah, and like I said, I don't want to beat.
yeah,
I
it's
want
not
to
a
dig
dead
too deep
horse.
into that. I want to get away from what we were talking about.
Right.
But that was just that's just maybe one of the reasons why. Go ahead, Vic.
I was
that's
about to say,
yeah.
Coach hit on mutual submission. Mutual submission is not necessarily, and let me tell you how I interpret that. Everybody has to individually just submit to something, and like like I bring up being your own resistance. You once you recognize that, you submit to it, and you say, hey, maybe not today. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the energy for that. every person has to take inventory of their emotions before they interact with other people, because you might be bringing the energy from work in the house, and I didn't do anything to you that had something to do with work. I might be bringing the energy from a negative interaction outside the house, and I may be looking for a way to vent and not knowing it subconsciously, you know what I'm saying? And I'm already there. But if you've already had an understanding of mutual submission to each other, you have to protect each other from yourself sometimes too. You know, that goes along with it, because stress has a way of getting into the way that you're moving, and you think you're appearing normal and everybody else sees something completely different. But without that trust that's established, it's hard to have mutual submission. It's hard to be able to take any criticism or any observation, or you'll see any observation of your general well-being as being critical. So the mutual submission piece is vital, because it packages up the trust and the relationship equity that you have. If you have somebody in your life that helps you mitigate your stress, you just got to be able to trust them when they say they see something different in you. That's your invitation to sit down and really take in the observation of the person that you trust at that point.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, we're about to wrap up the show, but if you hadn't already on YouTube, hit that like button, share it, subscribe, all those good things. We're going to drop all the links to all of our podcasts and other different things that we do in the chat or either in the description by sometime by tomorrow. So if you want to reach out to any of us on an individual basis to work with us one on one, please feel free to reach out and do so. We all have different things that we do on the side, and this is something that we do as our way of being able to give back and support and have conversations that are solution based that can help people. But before we do, I do want to close out with the final thoughts. Start with Antoine, Vic, and then Coach, and then we're going to see y'all next week. But yeah, so Vic, I mean not Vic, but Antoine, what are your final thoughts? You know, all things it comes down to
All things.
self-care.
I would say, and I'm going to encompass stress with this. I would say the best thing is to not care. Take care of yourself first. Be selfish with yourself. It's okay. You know, you're no good to somebody else if you're not in 100% place mind, right? Don't stress about the things that are out of your control. Either way, the rent's coming, this is coming. Stress about the solutions. Don't stress about what's going to happen if you can't get it. All right, that's another problem. Again, the wolf pack from the beginning. Circle yourself with good friends that can get you out of any trouble. I mean, you know who they are, right? Those are the ones you build solid relationships with. I'm not talking about the acquaintances, and I'm not talking about the one that's not really there but is there. I'm talking about a good wolf pack, right? Good people around you. As I always say, you're as good as the company you keep. Stress is not a bad thing. What's bad is how you handle it. But it can either push you in a direction to motivate yourself, to get you up earlier. And some people work better under stress because they get it done, right? So recognize what stress it is. And again, face it. Find out what's stressing you out and deal with it, right? Just deal with it. It's not going anywhere. That's it.
All right. So I think self-care is important simply because it's a tool that is the gateway for both success and unintended consequence. And what I mean by that is life itself gives us words and definitions, and context defines what those words mean, the value of them, right? So self-care is, I look at it as as like the door at a restaurant where the servers go in and out of, right? You can have something good on one side of the door, something bad. It's up to you, and it's based on how you respond to what stresses you out in life. All of us don't necessarily make the best decisions when we get greeted with stress. The thing is that The act itself is an opportunity to learn. It's an invitation to listen more before you react, because once you feel what those feelings do to your body, they should be the triggers. They should be the boundary. They should be reminders. This shouldn't be anything that makes you feel awkward about sharing them. It should be you being able to read the temperature in any room. It should be you recognizing how to protect yourself. And you might be in a situation where it's forcing you to be defensive, and you probably don't need to be in that type of space. If you don't take care of yourself, in terms of your mind, your mental, your body, and everything that corresponds with it, you are cheapening your value. You are underselling yourself in a good way, and you're going to miss opportunities because of how you respond to what you deal with in your environment on a day-to-day basis. So again, self-care is the gateway to both success and unintended consequence.
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand that self care, especially for men, not devaluing for women. I want to make sure I'm saying that. But my ministry is for men. So I'm just addressing men right now. But trust me, everything that I'm saying applies to women as well. Self care is the most unselfish thing that you can do. um, if you don't take care of yourself, you don't mean anybody any good. I'll be honest with you. I would never get in a relationship with a person that's not unbalanced. That's man or female, friend, whatever that looks like. So we need to understand that if you can't find balance within your space, then you become unstable. The instability that you exist in creates chaos for other people, especially when there's a little bit of turbulence on the plane. So again, I want to go back and I make sure I say exactly what I said previously. Make sure that you plan out the necessary care that works for you throughout the course of the day. Do not wait till stress builds up in your life before you decide it's time to do something about it. At that point in time, it may already be too late. So, again, take periodic breaks throughout the day to do the thing that you need to do to recharge your batteries. Do not pour from your cup. Let what comes out of your cup runneth over, right? Let what comes out of your cup be the thing that you give the other people and keep your cup recharged. Last but not least, men. I want to make sure I'm saying this. Men, our tribe needs us to quiet the storm. So make sure that you are healthy psychologically, make sure that you are emotionally healthy so that you can actually quiet the storm, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones, because they are depending on you.
Hey, I like it. I'm gonna stall real quick, and I'm gonna do my final thought. That way we can give Chris a couple more seconds to respond before he comes in. So my final thought is this: at the end of the day, you have to be, when it comes to self care, you have to be proactive, and you need to be intentional when it comes to it. The proactive, well, and you need to be consistent with it at the same time. So first of all, you need to be proactive. So you need to be have a plan or something written down or something on your schedule to do for self-care over a certain amount of time. You need to be intentional about it to make sure that you're hitting certain spots of your life that you need to that need the self-care. The physical part of it, the mental part of it, the relationship part of it. And then you need to practice it with consistency. It's going to take time in order for, you know, you can reap the benefits of self-care over the day, but you're going to reap even more benefits from it if you practice it day in or on a consistent basis, not just like someone mentioned earlier, not just once the stress of life comes up, because then it can sometimes be too late. So those are my three things when it comes to self-care: be proactive about it, be intentional about it, and be consistent with it. And then, and Chris, welcome to the show. He just got in. He been on the road, but he been following and everything else like that. But like I said, he's maybe caught up right now, so I'm gonna give him an opportunity to say his final thoughts before we close out.
First of all, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing? Secondly, you all pretty much said what my final thoughts were going to be, but I really want to touch on what Coach said. Um, Self-care is probably the most unselfish thing you can do. It's necessary. You need it. You need it. And don't let people think that because you want to take time away to get your mind right and to relieve, you know what I'm saying, whatever stress you're going through your head, whatever stress you got going on in your head or without throughout your body, that you're a bad person or anything like that, because you're no good to anybody if you don't know how to relax and de-stress. Secondly, a lot of people are thinking in the future, and I want to tell you that the best way to de-stress is to tell yourself that your worst fears never ever happen. They never happen. And to just go with what you know is best for you, because you're no good to anybody if you're all bottled up and you don't know how to release. Um, that's pretty much my final thought. This show was necessary. I needed this show, to keep it real. I needed this show. Um, because a lot of men out here don't know how important self-care is, because there's such a burden on our shoulders to produce, and there's such a burden on our shoulders to be quote unquote men, that we don't know how to relax and say, hey, I know I need to do this, but I need to chill out too, and I need to set time out to chill out. So this was necessary. I appreciate this show, fellas, for real. I appreciate this.
And to piggyback off of that, I think sometimes, I don't know if any of y'all have experienced it, but in my 40s, sometimes I've had my body to tell me, you're going to take a break. You're going to practice some self-care. Even though I'm an advocate and even though I practice self-care, sometimes me practicing self-care, sometimes I don't want to say I go overboard, but I'm thinking that I'm doing enough and I'm really not. Like, I'm really stressing out my body because I may be putting in so many miles, or I may be doing this and doing this when I may not be doing enough. So I think that's very important that you said that, you know. So, but
Yeah,
anybody got
sometimes
anything else to say? Go ahead,
yeah,
Chris.
sometimes you need to sit down, or your body will sit you down for you.
Yeah,
And you really don't want your body to sit you down. That's the
yeah.
worst.
Oh,
I
Oh,
think I
that's the
think the
worst.
recovery time when your body sits you down is a lot longer too.
Hey
Yeah,
You
it
man,
know, you
look,
is.
take the
you,
time
you
to
got
do it.
to
But when
you,
your
you got
body,
you
like,
got
look, bro, you're gonna be out for a couple of months.
and you
Hard
got
hit.
a lot of sensors. You got a lot of sensors on your body in your 40s. You got plenty
Mhm.
of check engine lights on your knees, your elbows, your
Yeah,
shoulders, your
check
back.
engine.
Yeah, you got check engine lights
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, your body will tell you what time it is. If you don't set the time out and be like, hey man, I'm gonna chill out real quick. Your body be like, hey,
Mhm.
okay, so you're not gonna chill out. I'm gonna chill you out. And ain't
Yeah.
nothing you
No,
can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's busy. Everybody is busy. And a
Mhm.
good friend of mine gave me a great acronym for busy. She told me that busy stands for bound under Satan's yoke.
Mm.
So the issue is that everybody confused the word busy and think it's just the act or the art of being busy. So they think it's busyness. So they tell people that they got business. Listen, nobody is that busy. Find time for yourself. I'm telling you, you heard a lot of great information here. Put it to use. I'm telling you, practice self care. It's essential.
I agree. I agree. Hey, gentlemen. Hey, thank y'all so much for taking time out of y'all busy life to come over here and support this show and this network and all those great things. Always appreciate all the kind words, the good words, everything that's spoken up here, everything that's adding value to all of us. I always get some value from the show. And I always, yeah, I get value from everybody. And at the same,
Shout out to Shonda, man. Shonda was
oh
burning
yeah,
it up over
she
there,
was
wasn't
on
she?
it today.
Hey
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
Shout
hey,
out to the
look,
chat, Shonda.
She was
I
on it yesterday too when me and Vic was
yeah,
talking.
she was
She
on
was on it
Cold
yeah.
Draw.
yesterday
Yeah, she
too.
came by. You know what I'm saying? I
Okay.
hanged out.
Yeah.
where are you guys looking?
The chat.
Hey,
Oh shit!
that's like the perfect way for the show to go off right there.
Yeah.
I was like,
Where
I
you
never
guys
look
looking?
over. Oh, I was on private chat over there.
Yeah.
Mm.
One
Hey,
1 year later.
I
Boy,
got something for that. Hey, so
Hey,
until next time, see y'all. Love y'all. Shout out to the chat. That shout out to everybody who watched today, everybody who hit the like button, everybody hit the subscribe button, all those good things. Check us out next week. Same bat time, same bat place, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are out.